Hi, this is Stu from All Things Grow, and welcome to Cannabis Botany. Today we're going to talk about one of the most introductory parts of cannabis botany, flowers. If you want to learn more about growing on your own, or if you just like to learn more about the plant, this is a great place to start. Whenever you smoke, whenever you use any of the plant that is introducing the THC or the CBD or any of the other cannabinoids, you're mostly using the flower part. Now this might be confusing because when you hear the term flower, you think something more like this than something like this. But in reality, these are both bouquets of flowers. The other thing that most people don't realize is this is many hundreds of flowers in a way that this is also probably dozens of flowers. So I have right here two different types of flowers, cannabis and campanula, or campanella, whatever it may be called. And when you think of a flower, this is what you traditionally think of. Now this has three main parts. I'm going to take this apart. You have the petals, or the corona. You have the pistil, the female part, which has the ovary. And then you have the stamen, or the male part, which have the pollen. Now the main things that these function as is, the goal of this is to produce seeds to create more plants. The purpose of the petals is to attract pollinators like bees and birds and other things to get them to transfer the pollen from the male part to the female part. And the pollen, this little sticky stuff, gets on here. There's a ovule or ovary at the bottom. Once the genetics of those merge, it develops a seed, and that can be transferred to other parts and more to the soil when it drops out. Now this, on the other hand, this beauty right here, is a cola from a Humboldt County seed called Chicken and Waffles. And unfortunately you can't smell it. It smells very much like maple syrup. It smells amazing. And the difference between this flower and this flower are manyfold. One of the main differences, unlike a flower that has a pistil and a stamen, cannabis plants have male and female plants. So one plant might produce male flowers and one plant might produce female flowers. As a result of that, the pollen from the male has to be transferred to the pistil and ovule of the female to produce seeds. So when you are growing cannabis, and if you want to get it for use in the cannabinoids and the THC, you mainly want to grow female plants because they have most higher levels of concentrate of the chemicals you're looking for. Male plants are much lower and have much more energy in the pollen, whereas the female flowers are much more robust and they have trichomes and terps and all those things. So you have male and female plants, which is one of the main differences. The other is you don't have these, you don't have petals. Now why don't you have petals? So cannabis is a Cannabaceae plant, and it is able to spread the pollen not from pollinators like birds and bees, but rather through the wind. So if you're spreading pollen through the wind, you actually don't want petals because petals get in the way of the wind blowing that pollen around. They want these open sort of pollen sacs to be as available for wind to blow it across large fields and get this plant, this female plant, as much pollen on it as possible to produce seeds. And once it produces seeds, it starts the next life cycle. If you're trying to grow as for use, for consumption, you actually don't want it pollinated, so you don't want male plants. You want to avoid them at all costs. So to get a better understanding of what we're talking about, we at All Things Grow developed this fun little diagram that really lays out the different parts of the plant. And you can see the traditional female part has the ovule right there, and it has the pistils right there, and it's trying to get pollen from the male part, which have these pollen sacs. the pollen sacs blow pollen onto the female part and then create a seed. But you're not looking at a single flower, you're looking at dozens or hundreds of flowers, because each one is a little one like this, and they create a cola, and that's an enormous cola right there. And so that's many different flowers in one, and can produce many different seeds. And so what you see on this is that's sort of it closed up, and if you take a very close look, you have these little hairs. The little hairs on the female plant are these little pistils sticking out, waiting for pollen to come. And so the fundamental grower for the first time who's trying to create flowers is trying to grow female flowers and not have them pollinated, so they could develop these right here, these little very microscopic hairs that you can see only with a magnifying glass, where all the THC and all the CBD develops. So if you ever see like those sort of crystal structures and it's sort of glowing or looks like a disco ball, those are these right here, the trichomes, and that's where all the cannabinoids are developing. And as long as that is not pollinated, it's going to develop more fully until it's time to harvest. You'll also notice how beautiful and how red and vibrant the leaves are. At the end of the life cycle of the plant, you have what's called senescence. Senescence is the term for when leaves change color. And in cannabis, what happens is all the energy from the plant goes into the flower, so the leaves start dying off as more and more energy goes into the flower, and you get this plant right here. And at this stage, we've just harvested, and I'm about to go dry and cure it, and see how it turns out. So that is the most introductory version of Cannabis 101. We'll probably have some future classes or future discussions on next stages in plant growth, different parts of plant growth, and the many ways in which you can maximize the growth for what you're looking to grow. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you again soon.